Hey, welcome back. We're going to talk about section 3 of the Idylluna Shawl this week, and I am loving it. Loving it. I have one more stripe to do before I can move into the next section. Okay, today's video is going to be pretty brief because there's not a lot to talk about except for I have a couple tips for you about managing the stitch count and, just a reminder or two about this garter pinstripe. And that's kind of it. This is a really straightforward, beginner-friendly piece. So we'll move into that right away. Okay, I'm attaching this crazy contrasting color, and similar to the way I did before, I'm just doing a couple of half hitches that are reversed so that when I pull on this, it'll just tighten right down, and I can then slide it right up to my needle. And that way I can continue doing that and keeping it tight if it loosens up. I'll weave in all the ends, obviously, later, but that's how I'm choosing to attach it. So that's pretty straightforward and simple. But then I want to straighten out the tails, and I'm not taking this off yet. We're leaving the main color attached. So I am going to just do the same thing, where I'm going to do my increase knit front back at the beginning of this row. Knit front back, knit to one stitch before the center, just like we have been. I'm going to knit to the center, just like we have been all along, and do my central double decrease. All right, on row 2 of this section, we're doing a purl pinstripe. So rather than purling here on the wrong side so that it's knit on the stockinette side or the right side, we're going to purl this so that it shows up as a purl row on the right side of our work for the contrasting color here. So rather than doing our, alternative yarn over or the extra wrap yarn over for going into a purl, we're just going to do a regular traditional yarn over at the beginning here, despite being on the wrong side, and we're going to knit to the last 2 stitches. And that will be our little pinstripe with our contrasting color. Then we're just going to carry on using our main color for repeating rows 10 and 11 again, and carry on doing this every 20 rows so that we have 5 of our contrasting color stripes. Pretty straightforward, but it will be a fantastic result. As I mentioned, this week's video is going to be pretty brief because it's a lot of just back and forthing and straight up knitting. The one thing that you might want to keep in mind, however, just a couple of tips for as you're working through these big sections, is when you begin this is the purl pinstripe is knit 1 row and knit back, so that creates that. So that's 2 rows. And then you're going to repeat rows 10 and 11 9 more times for another 18 rows. So you have 20 rows between here, including this purl ridge, which is knit down and knit back, creating that. So that accounts for 2 rows, and then you have 18 here. And so just keep track of your stitch count, knowing that you're just going to carry on doing this with 18 and 2 is 20, and you're going to do this for each of your 5 colors. So what I've been doing is double counting these stitches that I have on each side of my center double decrease spine, double counting, making sure I haven't missed a yarn over, for example, and that my stitch count on the right matches the stitch count on the left. And then I just keep doing that until I have 20, including the 2 rows that account for this purl ridge, and then 18. And then I know I'm ready to change colors. And we're just going to carry on doing this until we have 181 stitches total. So that would be 90 stitches on each side and the one in the middle. Okay, I hope you found those tips to be helpful. Like I mentioned, there's not a lot going on this week. It's just knitting right through it. So I have been enjoying a couple of shows. Well, this is a really good Netflix knitting shawl. I have HBO Max, and I recently watched a series called Mildred Pierce. It's set in the 30s, and it's about a woman who's a recent divorcee and her struggles to raise her kids and her entrepreneurship. So I thought that was a good series. Let's see, what else have I watched? Oh, there was another one on HBO Max called Olive Kittredge. Now, trigger warning, it is not lighthearted. Deals with some pretty tough topics, including dysfunctional families, suicide. Yeah, it's pretty heavy, but it's definitely one that makes you think if you're in the right headspace for that. But yeah, definitely trigger warning. Let's see. A friend of mine told me about this kooky show that, I mean, it's not new by any means. I think it's, from the early 2000s or something, but it's called Corner Gas and it's on Amazon Prime and it's just totally kooky. It reminds me sort of, I don't know. Oh, okay. It's like the family version of Letterkenny, right? Where it's Canadian and it's funny and it's some dry humor, but not probably as foul-mouthed as Letterkenny. So, but it's called Corner Gas because it's this little gas station at a crossroads in the middle of nowhere, Prairie, Saskatchewan. So check that out. I thought it was pretty funny. I haven't nearly watched all the episodes. I'm only like 4 or 5 in, but it's like, 20 minutes, right? If there's no commercials, it's like a 22-minute show, like a half hour, on regular TV. So check that out if you want kind of a no-brainer entertainment for knitting. Okay, next week, March 6th will be the release for the next square of the Barocco Mystery Blanket Knit Along. So I'll have a video for you about that next week. And just carry on knitting your shawl because there's not going to be a whole lot to tell you about until we get to the head hole part. So next week will be Barocco squares. The week after that, we'll talk about section 4 and 5 of the Idylluna Shawl. All right, I hope you're having a good week. Thanks for watching.